The Coach Curl podcast is brought to you by Think and Grow Business, the home of the Think and Grow Business Mastermind. If you're serious about growing your business, get serious and join a mastermind group today. Find out more at thinkandgrowbusiness.com.au.
Hey there, it's Coach Curl here, and welcome to episode 143 of the Coach Curl podcast. Today, stop making excuses. You're going to hear some amazing stories from ordinary people.
Way to go, guys. Way to go. Keep it going. Good job, guys. All right, Paul. I see you. Finish on. Coach Curl.
Okay, it's Coach Curl here, and welcome to episode 143 of the Coach Curl podcast. Stop making excuses! And let's get started today. And it's a great lead-in having that little bit of a music intro. It's highlighting some of the great memories that I got from the New York Marathon. This time last year, I was heading to New York to undertake and take part in that 42-kilometre event we call the New York Marathon. Some great memories, some fantastic memories, and always a pleasure, always a bit of a kick for me to hear them as we intro into the podcast. Now, today I'm sharing some inspirational stories of people that I've met that do extraordinary things. So people just like you, people just like you, striving to do things that they believe in, that they thrive in, that they've committed to. People just like you. People that don't make excuses. And people that seriously are making shit happen. Now, regular listeners, of course, know that my wife and I started this thing called running marathons, and every now and again I still sort of scratch my head as to how that came about, but ultimately that's what we do. We now run marathons, and we've run two. We've done the New York Marathon in 2018, and recently at the beginning of October we completed the Melbourne Marathon, and in between we've run, I think at least 6 half marathons. We've done multiple 10-kilometre fun runs. On a regular basis, on a weekend, we'll run 10, 15 kilometres. So that's not bad for a couple of non-runners. So, and interestingly, we do it for ourselves, and we do it for the challenge that we've set for ourselves. We don't do it for the glory. I certainly don't do it to talk about it on the podcast, even though I do talk about it on the podcast. It's certainly not front of mind of why I run and why I do it. It's taught me so many lessons along the way of how to overcome adversity, how to overcome pain, how to overcome injuries, be good to myself, to be kind to myself. And along the way, those are little lessons that I like to share with people. But the reality is that Sharon and I will never stand atop a podium, right? Except in some of those running expos that we've been to, there is usually a backdrop of a podium somewhere for some photos pre-race. But and they're likely to be the only ones that Sharon and I ever stand upon. The only podium that's important to us is that we're actually achieving what we set out to achieve. So we'll never make it into the top 10. We, even within our age groups, we run for personal satisfaction. And what I've discovered, and Sharon has as well, is that ultimately overcoming those tough times when you're running, whether you've got some pain or whether you've got an injury or whether you're trying to keep yourself in the game by mindset and positive self-speak. What we found is that those things tend to help us in other areas of our lives. So the resilience that we've built from running helps drive other areas of our life when things get a bit challenging. So personal satisfaction, personal goal setting. And along the way, we've become a part of a very small group of the entire population that can really call themselves marathoners. You know, and at this stage, less than 1% of the human population have ever run a marathon. So when you think about that, and when I think about that, and that I'm actually part of that group, that's pretty fulfilling in its own right. But I guess that percentage also starts to reduce the more marathons you run. So while less than 1% of the population have run one, even less than that have run two. And even less than that do what they call chase the significance, the satisfaction, the quest to run all 6 majors. And at this moment in time, that's our quest. We've only run one, mind you, and we've got 5 ahead of us. You know, that being Berlin, Chicago, Boston, London, and Tokyo. But that's our goal and that's our aim. And then that percentage of the population becomes even smaller. So more and more people are setting their sights on running the Abbott 6, is what it's called. And we will become part of that group. We will become part of that group. There's no certificates that we hang on the wall, but there's a lot of bling. You tend to get a medal every time you run, and that's always pretty cool. But the reality is that we're setting goals, and we get out there and achieve them. And along the way, we've met some really amazing people. And when I say amazing people, these aren't, you know, the global elite. These aren't financial wizards. These are what I would call good people, ordinary people, average people, some may be called by some people. And in my mind, doing amazing things. And the journey that they're on is different from ours, but similar to ours. So I'm going to talk about Terry. Now, Terry comes from Brisbane. He's just in his 60s. And he's got a dodgy hip, and it's a hip that plays up constantly. And he actually runs, every time he runs with the realization that if his hip, one day that run that he's on could be his last, because his hip might just stop. It might just put him into a position where he's got to stop. And his doctor and his surgeon and all these people that are close to him keep telling him that he shouldn't be running. But he still runs. And it doesn't stop his love for running. Now, we met Terry by doing the New York Marathon in 2018. But this year, Terry ran Berlin. And Terry's on a quest. Terry's now on a quest to get the Abbott 6, just like we are. He's a little bit closer than us, because this year he ran the Berlin Marathon. And then 4 weeks later ran the Chicago Marathon. So you can imagine it's pretty tough doing one marathon. But to back it up 4 weeks later to do another really gives you an insight into, I guess, what Terry's about. Now, in between those marathons, he enjoyed Oktoberfest, had a quick trip to Vegas on the way to Chicago. Typical things that that blokes do, I guess. So, but the amazing thing about Terry is that even with the dodgy hip, and even, you know, staring down that particular age bracket that he's in, he ran Berlin in a time of 3 hours 20 odd. Amazing. Like, that's an amazing time. 3 hours 20. And, you know, dodgy hip, he's not getting any younger, as we all are, and was able to do 3 hours 20. And then 4 weeks later, backed it up from a diet of Oktoberfest and Vegas, was able to back it up in Chicago with a time of about 3 hours 40. So, and interesting to know that at Chicago, he was on track to actually beat his time in Berlin. And Berlin's a really flat, and what they call a flat and fast course. You know, not that anything is really fast over 42k, but he was on track, and he sort of died a little bit. And you can give him credit for that, because, as I said, it's tough enough doing one marathon, let alone backing it up 4 weeks later. So he's halfway through his quest now to do the 6 majors. And no doubt, I think he's doing Tokyo with us next year in March. So he'll be one step closer. So he's fit as, he's tough as, he's a genuine Aussie bloke that runs marathons. And he's doing it for his own personal quest. He's up off his ass and he's running. Now, we catch up with him on a fairly regular basis. We caught up with him at Gold Coast Marathon Festival. We caught up with him at the Sunshine Coast Marathon Festival. And it's always good to catch up with Terry. So yeah, he's just a good old Aussie bloke. He doesn't sit back and bemoan the dodgy hip. He doesn't sit there and take it easy on the couch. Even though that hip threatens to curtail his love of running, he manages it and he overcomes it. And he doesn't let it stop him. And when you think about that, and you think about the people in the world that allow other less meaningful things, stop them in their quest of achieving anything, it's really, hopefully there's a bit of a lesson there for you. Let's not forget Melissa Urey. Now, Melissa, once again, we met Melissa at the New York Marathon. And back in episode 94, there's an interview that I had with Mel at the New York Marathon. I met and spoke with Mel, and she was using the New York Marathon as a lead-in to an event that was called Ultraman. So in Ultraman, and it was Ultraman in Hawaii, and she was building into that. So in Ultraman, athletes do a 10K swim and a 140K bike ride on day one. On day two, they do a 275-kilometre bike ride. And on day three, just for good measure, they'll throw in a double marathon. It's an 84-kilometre run. So that's amazing in itself. That's amazing. So New York Marathon, I think at time was in the 4:20. I might be a little bit wrong with that. It could have been. It was around 4. It was in the 4s. But then, a couple of weeks later, she's doing that Ultraman in Hawaii. Now, Melissa is a full-time nurse. I might just throw that in. She's a full-time nurse. So if you get sick in hospitals around Melbourne, there is a chance that Melissa Urey could be your nurse. So, but she just happens to be an ultra-distance athlete. How she finds time to do this is mind-boggling to me. But recently, she even stepped that up. And I'm almost speechless at what she achieved. Now, she competed in an event called Uberman. So the event in Hawaii was called Ultraman. This one is called Uberman. And Uber is billed as the ultimate triathlon odyssey. No lottery, no sponsors, no bull. Right? So this is from their website. Uberman is the world's most challenging ultra triathlon. The 556-mile course, I think that equates to around 895 kilometres. The 556-mile course goes from the mists of Avalon to the snows of Mount Whitney. Now, this is in California. Starting on Catalina Island, participants swim 21 miles in the open Pacific Ocean to the shores of Palo Verde. The 400-mile bike route leaves the City of Angels and climbs 20,000 vertical feet before descending to Badwater Basin at 200 feet below sea level, which is the lowest point in North America. From Badwater, athletes then run 135 miles through Death Valley before ascending 13,000 feet to the trailhead of Mount Whitney, the highest peak in continental United States. Allow that to sink in, right? Because some of that is just mind-boggling to me. I think 895 kilometres of swimming, running, and cycling. Now, the race does not entail thousands of participants. Once again, this is direct from their website. Thousands of participants vying for 100 spots. There are no multi-million-dollar corporate sponsors. All aid stations and race support crews are provided by each athlete. Uberman is for those unique individuals who want the ultimate challenge without all the hype The cost is free. The reward for finishing is infinite. Once again, the cost is free. The reward for finishing is infinite. Melissa Urie became the first woman ever to enter, the first woman ever to complete it. She set records for the swim and the bike, I believe the bike along the way. She completed the course in 195 hours. Okay. Once again, that's over 8 days of constant work. This is one tough lady. Her mindset is incredible. Now, just thinking about that run itself. So the run itself, 135 miles through Death Valley. That's equivalent to running 5 marathons consecutively. 5 marathons. And let's just top that off and let's make that run through Death Valley, right? You know what I'm saying? There's no glory in this. She's doing it for her own challenges. And, well, I actually hope that there is some glory for Melissa, because she's really putting herself out there and really setting the bar for what people can do. So huge congrats to Melissa Urie. Huge congrats. Huge amount of respect. She's a full-time nurse. Just throw that back into the mix. She's achieving feats and accomplishments that I just cannot fathom. And no doubt you're probably thinking the same. So let's just cut to the chase. What is this podcast all about? Okay. What excuses are you holding on to that are stopping you from having a crack? What is the thing that's holding you back? Now, I'm not talking about running through Death Valley, right? That's for some pretty unique people. But what I'm talking about is whatever is holding you back from living your best life, being the best person, being with the best person that you can be, having the right family and the love relationships, tackling your dreams, your desires, your aspirations. What the hell's holding you back? You know, whatever it is, hopefully these stories of ordinary people like you, that decided to go out and challenge themselves and be better for it, achieving extraordinary things. Hopefully that's enough to kick you in the backside and get you moving. Because you don't have to run a marathon. You don't have to do Uberman. But you can chase your dreams. And isn't it time for that? And isn't it time for you? I hope you've taken some value out of the podcast today. If so, please feel free to share. We really appreciate whenever people share our podcast, whenever there's something that resonates deeply with them. Really appreciate the fact that people go out of their way and share what we talk about here on the Coach Girl podcast. As always, thanks to Think and Grow Business, the home of the Think and Grow Business Mastermind, helping people improve their performance in business, strengthening leadership mindset, and of course their business. You can check it out at thinkandgrowbusiness.com.au. Don't forget, I have written a book. It's seriously simple stuff to get you unstuck. Available where all good books are sold, but also available in a signed personal copy at tonycurl.com.au. Don't forget to check it out. 20% of every book sold supports the great work that Carter's Cause do, supporting the kids and the families of kids born with congenital heart disease. Don't forget, our main sponsor is Totally Builderall. Totally Builderall just continues to grow and provide value over and above anything else out there on the market. Check it out at totallybuilderall.com, a fully integrated digital marketing system. You've got e-commerce sites with Magenta, you've got WordPress hosting sites that are now available, you've got drag and drop websites, you've got lead funnels, you've got lead pages. They're all available at Builderall, as well as CRM's mailing list. It's just awesome what you get for that. Sign up for your free 7-day trial at totallybuilderall.com. And don't ever forget, if you really want to start chasing your dreams, check out the Coach Curl Academy. It's now online. It's been online for over a year now. We've got a dedicated group of community members that are out there completing the courses, very hands-on, in-depth coaching from myself along the journey. And it's all available at the CoachCurlAcademy.com, or you just simply Google Coach Curl Academy. I'm sure it's going to come up. Hey, as with always, where you are now is where you're standing stronger, braver, and wiser. After everything that you've been through, you are still standing. That is such a credit to each and every person listening to this. You are stronger, you are braver, you are wiser, and don't ever forget the golden rule. Yes, you know what that is. Just don't be an arsehole. I'll see you next time.